Okay, let's dive right into this. If you're preparing for a job interview, it's incredibly easy, like almost guaranteed to feel like you're walking straight into an interrogation room. But today, we're going to completely flip that script. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're breaking down a comprehensive interview skills guidebook to totally transform how you view and honestly, how you conquer the entire interview process. We're reframing the whole thing from a stressful, one-sided interrogation into what it actually should be. A strategic, two-way conversation where you hold just as much power as the employer. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover your pre-interview prep, communication and the STAR method, dressing for success, mastering specific interview formats, and finally, following up and securing that offer.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the pre-interview prep.
You know, conquering an interview actually starts way before you ever step foot into a room or boot up a video call. It really begins with knowing yourself and doing some deep research on the employer. Because to prep effectively, we first have to understand what employers are actually evaluating. Look at this comparison we have here. On one side, we've got tangible criteria. This is your technical knowledge, your work experience, your past accomplishments. Basically, these are the cold, hard facts that probably got your resume noticed in the first place, right? They get you in the door. But on the other side, we have intangible criteria, what we often call soft skills. We're talking about your communication style, your self-confidence, your overall enthusiasm. The absolute crucial point to remember here is this. While your tangible skills prove to them that you physically can do the job, it's those intangible skills that prove you're the right cultural fit for their organization. And trust me, employers are desperately looking for both.
Since that cultural fit is just so vital, you really have to know exactly who you're talking to. When you're going through your employer research checklist, please don't just look at what the company sells. You need to dig a little deeper. Understand their size, figure out who their biggest competitors are, and try to get a feel for what their daily culture is truly like. Are they popping up in the news for a recent merger? Maybe a global expansion? You can easily find this stuff on their website, on LinkedIn, or even just by setting up a couple of Google News alerts. Putting in this kind of research doesn't just give you amazing talking points, it demonstrates genuine enthusiasm and a really strong work ethic to the hiring manager. It proves without a doubt that you aren't just looking for a job, you're looking for this job.
Moving right along to Section 2, communication and the STAR method.
Okay, so we've gathered our intel, right? Now let's move into the execution phase. To confidently tackle those tricky behavioral questions, the ones that always start with, "Tell me about a time when," you need a structured framework, rather than just trying to awkwardly memorize a script. Enter your new best friend, the STAR method. This framework ensures your answers are always concise and super impactful. Here's how it works. Step 1, situation or task. Just briefly set the scene and describe the context. Step 2, action. Describe the specific steps that you took to overcome whatever obstacle was in your way. And finally, Step 3, results. Explain the outcome. Quantify it if you can, and make sure to share what you learned. So for example, if they ask about a time you took a leadership role, you wouldn't just sit there and say, "Oh, I'm a good leader." No way. You'd explain a situation where, say, a group marketing project was falling way behind. Then the action you took to create a timeline and delegate tasks. And finally, the result. Your team finished on time and nailed an A. It's basically a compelling mini-narrative that undeniably proves your competence. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what they're looking for.
Now, while we're talking about communication, it's absolutely vital to know your boundaries. Let's do a quick rapid-fire contrast here. Employers have the total legal right to ask if you're over 18 or if you've ever been convicted of a crime. Those are perfectly legal. However, questions about your exact age, your marital status, what country you were born in, or if you have health problems, those are absolutely 100% illegal. If you ever face an awkward or illegal question like that, listen to me. You do not have to panic. You can answer if you really want to, maybe providing some context that it won't affect your ability to do the job, or even better, you can just politely redirect the conversation back to your skills and qualifications. The main takeaway here, just know your rights.
All right, Section 3, dressing for interview success.
Let's shift gears for a second and talk about visual presentation. Whether we like it or not, first impressions happen lightning fast, and they are heavily visual. The absolute golden rule of interviewing attire is remarkably simple. Always dress slightly more formally than the company's everyday dress code. Let's look at the visual contrast we have going on here. On one side, we've got business professional. Think dark, conservative suits, crisp blouses, and closed-toed dress shoes. Very classic. On the other side, we have business casual. This means tailored slacks, nice cardigans, and neat shoes, but absolutely no jeans or athletic wear ever. And hey, well beyond the clothes, your grooming is just paramount. Your outfit should be spotless and wrinkle-free. Keep the jewelry moderate, Make sure your hair is out of your face, and here is a massive tip. Actively avoid perfumes, colognes, or strongly scented lotions. Seriously, you want to be remembered for your fantastic answers, not for leaving an overpowering fragrance in the elevator.
Which brings us to Section 4, Mastering Specific Interview Types.
The reality is, not all interviews happen in a standard, boring office setting anymore. The modern job market uses a whole variety of formats. Take phone interviews, for example. They're incredibly common as first-round screens. And here's the catch. Because you lack visual cues over the phone, flaws in your speech, like those awkward ums and ahs, are actually magnified. So you've got to keep your answers concise. Make sure to keep your resume and all that company research we talked about spread out right in front of you. But okay, here is an amazing psychological trick that is a real game changer. Literally stand up and smile while you talk. I know it sounds silly, but even though they can't see you, standing up opens up your diaphragm so you project your voice better. And smiling naturally warms up your tone, making you sound far more confident and engaging on the other end of the line.
And then there's the often intimidating case interview. If you're heading into business, sales, or consulting, you are very likely to encounter these. Basically, they present you with hypothetical, sometimes super ambiguous scenarios. But I'm going to let you in on the secret to case interviews. Employers usually aren't looking for one single magical right answer. Honestly, they aren't. They're actually evaluating how you think. They just want to see if you can logically structure your thoughts, ask good clarifying questions, and systematically break down a problem. It's entirely about your critical thinking process, not just jumping to the final conclusion.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this massive number right here, 325 million. How does this possibly apply to your interview? Any guesses? Well, according to the guidebook's data, this represents the population of the United States. And why does that matter? Because in those tricky case interviews, you're often hit with market sizing questions. Things like, what's the market for laptops likely to be in 10 years? Having baseline statistics memorized beforehand, like the US population, the fact that there are roughly 126 million households, or that there's an average of 2.6 people per household, gives you the solid mathematical foundation you need to confidently structure your assumptions and solve those crazy brain teasers right on the fly.
Finally, Section 5, Following Up and Offers.
Okay, we are officially entering the final phase of our roadmap. You prepped, you communicated exceptionally well, you totally nailed the case study, but wait. You weren't done yet. Let's walk through the exact timeline of post-interview etiquette, because this area can literally make or break a hiring decision. First up, within 24 hours of your interview, you absolutely must send a brief, grammatically flawless thank you email to every single person you interviewed with, and be sure to include a specific topic you discussed to prove you were actively listening. This is absolutely crucial because a lot of employers will just presume you aren't actually interested in the job if they don't get a thank you note. Next, if they didn't give you a specific timeline, wait about 1 to 2 weeks before you follow up. And finally, when you get that call and receive the job offer, express immense enthusiasm. Absolutely. But remember, you do not have to accept it right there on the spot. It is completely appropriate and actually smart to ask for some time to consider the offer, so you can formulate any questions and just ensure it truly aligns with your long-term career goals.
Which brings us beautifully to the core philosophy of this entire explainer. Interviewing is a two-way process. Yes, of course, you're there to sell your skills, but remember, you are also a buyer. During that interview, you should be actively observing how the employees act. Does the environment match your personality? Can you genuinely see yourself working there every day? You are completely empowered to assess the employer just as rigorously as they are assessing you. Never forget that.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a quick piece of immediate homework. The single most common first question in basically any interview is, tell me about yourself. So I'm asking you, what are your primary selling points? Take some time today, right after this, to draft a solid 30-second introduction that perfectly highlights your experience, your specific skills, and exactly why you are the absolute perfect fit for your next big opportunity. You've got the roadmap, now it's time to build your pitch. Get out there and crush it.